Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for another very special edition of WOWSA Live with our host, Ned Dennison.
Hello, everyone. I'm the chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. A couple of days ago, we introduced the first of our inductees for the class of 2021. Today, I'm very proud to announce and congratulate Neville Smith from South Africa, Honor Administrator, class of 2021. Hello, Neville. Say hello to everyone.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, Ned and Steve and everybody else. Thanks for having me.
Neville, normally I give people's career highlights, but I'm gonna ask you to help a little bit because you kind of started with open water as a parent, and it looks to me like you've done every single can be done, from coaching to refereeing to administrating to organizing to running around with Band-Aids and plasters. Give people a little bit of your background, if you would, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ned. Been involved since 1986 as a parent initially, and then because of our location in the country, not having a regular coach, and the kids going to a small school where they had to play all the sports at the school. The only time slot that we had for training was like after 5 o'clock in the evening. So I did a little bit of research and what have you, and spent time with the local coach on deck, and got involved with swimming coaching initially. From there, we progressed to becoming the vice chairman of the club, and then eventually the chairman, and then moved on to being the chairman of the province or the state. From there, we relocated down to Johannesburg in 1994, and I got out of any administration and coaching for about 5 years because I got back into the commercial world. And then in 1999, Swimming South Africa, through Wayne Ridden, approached me to get involved with open water swimming. This had happened because my late son Kenneth had won the 13 and under mid-mile in 1995, and he had progressed to become quite a good open water swimmer, although it was only on the recreational basis in those days. 1999 saw South Africa go off to the Pan Pacs, and we had a guy by the name of Mackay that swam the 25K. And of course, Kenneth piped up and said, I beat him at the mid-mile, might as well do a little bit of open water swimming. So yeah, that was it. That was the beginning of the beginning. And within a couple of years, he was representing South Africa at various international competitions. Due to the Zimbabwean crisis, I had a transport brokerage company, and we were doing international transport. And once things started going pear-shaped in Zimbabwe, I closed that down, and Swimming South Africa approached me and said, we've heard some exciting news that's going to happen in open water swimming, and we would like to have somebody run open water swimming for the Federation. So I joined up with the Federation in 2004. And, you know, after having traveled a few years prior to that, 2 competitions, and having the beach type culture that the guys in California and Australia have, I realized that, you know, South Africa could actually be a force to be reckoned with in open water swimming. So it was a really enjoyable task that was thrown out in front of me. We formed a squad system so that we could afford opportunities to individuals that needed to go and participate internationally. We set up a local series where there were consistent distances and what have you that were running all on the FINA distances, the 5 and 10K. And as a result, we started getting some promising results on the international stage with guys like Sean Dias and Kenneth and Tyron Venter, Ilya Janssen van Rensburg, Demi Dracopoulos. So things started to look good. And then in 2005, we heard that open water swimming was going to become an event at the Olympic Games. So we headed off to Montreal because they were talking about holding the event in a rowing basin. So they decided in Montreal to have it in a rowing basin. Sean Dias had an exceptional 5K at that competition. Very encouraging going forward. We came back to South Africa. Kenneth and Sean were our two leading male swimmers. And then all of a sudden, Natalie popped out the woodwork. And she was an amazing asset to us. She had her limitations. And come 2007 at the Olympic trials in Seville, we had a strategy there which worked quite well for her, and she was the first South African to qualify in the top 10 and thereby getting automatic selection to the Olympic Games. Chad Ho went on to Beijing to the trial event, finished third there, and also got the nod to go to the Olympics. And the rest is history. A couple of years later, he won the FINA 10-kilometer marathon swimming title in, I think it was 2010 or 2011. He won a medal in the 5K in Rome. He won the 5K title in Kazan. And he's been a great role model. We've been fortunate. We've had two Chads in South Africa that have been great role models in swimming. So we've been blessed. And yeah, Chad has just recently retired, and we've roped him into our squad system again. And he's going to be mentoring a number of our young guys coming through. We have a pro at the moment that's 24 and beyond. So we're looking at Paris and Los Angeles, and we've got some exciting talent coming through. So yeah, we're hoping that South Africa will become a force to be reckoned with in the future.
So I want to go to the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Steve was there. You were there. Start by telling us your impressions of the entire event. Steve's got one or two questions in case you leave anything out.
Yeah, well, they had an event which was their test event in the May, which they called the Goodwill Games. So we chugged off over to China, and I flew over some quite horrific yellow clouds as we were heading off to Beijing from Hong Kong. And what struck me initially when I got to Beijing was the way that they had created these fantastic infrastructure around everything and planted 1 million trees. They had taken trees and just transplanted them. So yeah, it was quite impressive. The hotel we stayed at initially was close to the rowing basin. Got to the rowing basin, and it was a great facility and venue. Chlorinated water, believe it or not. So yeah, Chad got in there. I was a technical official there. Chad got in, had a good swim. Very impressed with what the organization at this level. Of course, it was my first Olympic Games. So I was pleasantly surprised. Great to meet friends that I'd made the previous year at the Melbourne World Championships. Guys like Steve, he was there. I'd known Steve for quite a while. And then obviously guys like Sid Cassidy and the rest of the technical committee that were there. Dennis Miller, he was a great guy and had a lot of influence in my decisions that I was making regarding open water swimming back in South Africa. After the trial event, we shot back to South Africa, and 3 months arrived at the Olympics. It was amazing. As you know, we get outfitted out with some really nice kit, and when I went to get my kit, I was given a skirt. So I wasn't given a pair of trousers. I was given a skirt. So we had to go and get that sorted out initially. So that was a little bit of a joke on our side.
That picture will appear in your official biography, by the way.
If you must. So yeah, we weren't out at the rain basin on the accommodation. We were over the Bird's Nest Stadium, which was actually quite nice to the village, and you could feel the atmosphere. Taxi drive to go and watch the water polo. We got there in the last couple of days of the swimming, so we were blessed to be able to go and watch a little bit of the competitive swimming. But we were there for open water swimming, and the organization was very, very good and very efficient, and pretty, much everything was out in front of us, and everything was quite fine. Shelley Taylor Smith, who was the secretary of the FINA Open Water Swimming Technical Committee at that stage, because of my association and relationship with Natalie, raced to pick up her leg and take it to the finish and what have you. So yeah, I was right up there, up close and nasty. Not being a member of the team, as I wasn't considered to be a referee or what have you, but just being there and being part of the inaugural 10-kilometer marathon swimming event was a great honor and privilege, and one of the highlights of my aquatics career. Natalie, sorry,
I wanted
Steve.
to ask you a question. I want to first make a comment. Is when I saw Chad Ho, who was only 17 at the time, Natalie, who was the first amputee to make the Olympic finals, and yourself walking around the venue, and this is at every international competition, I saw a sense of purpose, and I saw a sense of a calmness and a confidence that very much impressed me. Here you were, a relatively small federation in terms of open water swimming. At the time, Germany, Russia, Australia, US were quite the force, but you guys came in, Natalie, yourself, and Chad, and you guys belonged. You looked like you belonged. Where did that come from? Where did that confidence and passion come from?
Steve, if we look back on those to the lead up to Beijing, we had made a concerted effort to go and race in the Far East. We were very comfortable with the dietary constraints that we might have thrown at us. We understood the water temperatures and the air temperature situations that we were going to encounter. The strategy that we had for Natalie at Seville worked very well. We were very, very happy with the way that things happened in Seville. She was leading up until the last 25 meters and then didn't have the kick to get through, but still got a top 10 finish. And, all credit to Natalie. She knew her limitations. She went out and raced hard right from the gun. And, I think guys like Sean Kelly and what have you realized what we had done. And, they converted that to Cassie Patton and Kerry-Ann Payne, because they adopted a very similar strategy in Beijing to what we had done in Seville. Unfortunately, Natalie broke the golden rule. You don't wash your hair, then put a hair conditioner on the day before. And she was fighting with her cap for quite a long time and during the race, and was a little bit distracted. So she didn't have quite the race that she wanted. But I think 16th place for Natalie at the Olympic Games, after what she had been through, was a phenomenal achievement.
I agree.
Where does the sorry?
No, I agree. I want to press you on that point, because here she was, literally in the history of the Olympics since 1896, the first amputee to get in an Olympic final. and she was one of the favorites. I mean, she had gotten fourth at the qualifying, fourth. Again, just getting out sprinted toward the end. But there was one incident that I did not hear, I did not see, because I wasn't at the venue. But the officials didn't let her, Natalie, take her prosthetic from the tent to the start. That was a huge event. That was a huge commotion. And I heard this from the swimmers who wanted to protest. Go ahead. Okay, are we having?
Yeah, look, she did walk down she did use the prosthetic to go down to the start. I picked it up afterwards and I took it back to the finish, and we put it on one side. And then when she had finished, she cramped up really badly. So there's quite a few images of me kneeling next to her and just reassuring her and just letting her know that we were so super proud of her. Wow.
While Neville composes himself, the distance from the tent to the starting platform was 400 meters. You can imagine the rest of the athletes thinking themselves, the rest of the athletes with, that's just not happening. She has to wear her leg. If she doesn't wear her leg, none of us are going out. So a little bit of a back office drama, and a very inspirational swimmer.
Yeah, and you know what? It just goes to show what sort of a person she was, because it didn't deter her. It didn't deter her. And having finished in 16th after so much expectation was on her, she was just happy and proud that she had done it, and she had achieved what she wanted to achieve. And she is one of South Africa's greatest aquatics sportsmen, if not general sports person, for what she's achieved. I knew her before she lost her leg. She was a close friend of my late son Kenneth, and working with her in the lead up to Beijing was a great experience. Things went a little bit haywire. I think she could have gone faster and better. I think she could have had a little bit more longevity. But personal circumstances dictated a lot of the changes that happened in her life. Coming back to our young gun, Chad Ho, well, he finished just out of the top 10 in Beijing. I think he got in 11th place, which was a phenomenal achievement. And if one goes through the years that followed, Chad was always in like the top 15 at the World Champs in the 10. And, he's been a great servant to open water swimming and to our country as an ambassador. So, let's doff our hat to both Chad and to Natalie for their performances, both domestically and internationally in the open water swimming environment.
I think you'll owe them each at least one beer, because a lot of their success is part of why we're having this interview with you today. They've made you look incredibly good, Neville Smith. I want to ask you about mass participation, open water swimming in South Africa. You've rattled off a number of names. You've rattled off Sid Cassidy, Dennis Miller, Steve Munatonis, Shelley Taylor-Smith. They're all inductees as well, honorees of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. But one of the events that we have as an honor organization is in Mid-Mar Mile. Tell us a little bit about the initiatives to get people swimming in the open water and increase Black participation in the sport.
Yeah, well the Mid-Mar Mile, I'll never forget the first Mid-Mar Mile. Back in 74, I think it was. The guys said to me, hey, there's going to be a dam swim up at Mid-Mar. And I said, yeah, no, they're going to swim across Mid-Mar. They're going to swim a mile. I said, but, that's cool. Well, why don't you come and swim with us? No, I'm playing cricket, man. Why do I want to go and swim in the dam if I can go and play cricket? So yeah, I missed a golden opportunity to have been, because I'm from Pietermaritzburg, which is just outside where Howick, which is where the Mid-Mile is held. So I missed a golden opportunity to be one of the first guys to swim the Mid-Mile. A great event. Wayne Ridden has been running it for the last 30 odd years, and he's taken this event from being just a purely recreational event where you would have maybe one or two events with these guys starting on the one side of the dam and swimming across, to an 8-event competition where you start off with the disabled guys, then you have a company relay, then you have a family relay, and then the following day you carry on to have your 13 and under and 31 and over boys, 13 and under, 31 and over girls, and then the two main races, which over the recent past, I'd say the last 15 to 20 years, Wayne has been able to, through his sponsors, attract some really, really good international swimmers to be able to come out and race the local guys. So yeah, doff my hat to Wayne Ridden and his crew at Seal Swimming Club in Pietermaritzburg. By the way, I used to be a member of Seal Swimming Club as well. And yeah, you know, they've done a great job.
Some people don't know how big this event is. Give us some idea of how many swimmers participate.
Well, the Guinness Book of Records has them at about 17,000 on the most that they've ever had. And they set the swimmers off in batches of about 400. And they have a series of seeding events, which Wayne and I set up in 2008, up here in Gauteng, which is Johannesburg, Pretoria area. And those events, the times that are recorded at those events go onto a database, because you'll see at the Mid-Mile, there are different colored caps for the various groups that go out. And based on that, you are seeded, and then you will leave every, say, 3 minutes or 4 minutes in batches of 400. They average anything between 13 and 15,000 participants over the 2 days. They have great initiatives for charity. You know, they have what they call the 8 Mile Club, where the guys swim the 1 mile and then they swim back to the start again. And then they'll start with the next batch, swim out and back. And then they have the 8 Mile Club as well. So they've got the 16 Mile Club and the 8 Mile Club. And all of those guys have to get commitments from individuals to provide them with donations so that they can go and do the 8 miles or the 16 miles. And then that money gets put into various charities that the Mid-Mile actually gives out at a presentation in Pietermaritzburg. It's quite interesting to know that Swimming South Africa has probably only got about 9,000 registered swimmers on there. Yeah, and we still get 4th or 6th or 7th at the World Champs on the medal tables, because we've been blessed. We've had some really, really good pool swimmers. The likes Penny Haynes, Brendan Dedekin, Netland, the awesome foursome, Darian Townsend, and the lad from Petersburg, more recently Chad Ho. So yeah, we seem to have some good swimming genes falling out of swimming in South Africa. But to have 15,000 people to go and swim in a recreational swim says something about the way that the discipline has been promoted. There was, I think it was in 2006 or 2007, open water swimming was the fastest growing recreational sport in South Africa. And that was partly attributed to the popularity of the Mid-Mile and the swim challenge series that we put out. And the Swim Challenge series, besides having a FINA component where we were always swimming a 5:10 or a 3, 5, and 10 at those events, we would also have a recreational event as a kilometer or a 1,200 meter swim based on the age groups that Wayne had. So he was able to grab that data and feed it into the mid-mile database. We also had a development component because at every one of our open water swims in South Africa, we have what we call a fun swim. And that's normally about a 400 meter or 500 meter swim. And what we do is we invite our Learn to Swim programs that are run by the Federation in the townships and in the previously disadvantaged areas. We provide transport for them, we provide meals and what have you for them. And we at most of those events, we have probably between 100 or 150 little chaps, sometimes not so little chaps, going into the water, swimming their 400 or 500 meters, coming out, and they get a medal, a participation medal. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons about participation medals, but for that little guy to get a medal on a Sunday and to go back to school on a Monday and go and say to the guys, I went to an open water swim yesterday, I swam in the dam, and here's the medal that I won. And the reasoning behind that is, and this is something that I've tried to promote right from the beginning when I've been involved with open water swimming, is the ethos that it's not in the winning in open water. Just by finishing the race, you're a winner, because you don't have lines to follow. You don't have the end of the pool where you can stop and catch a breather. It's a challenge in so many different ways. And that's why I doff my cap to the guys that swim from Catalina across to LA or wherever they end up, or from the English Channel. A guy like Roger Finch, who's one of the few South African Triple Crown winners. He started swimming because of a vehicle accident where he messed his back up, or a horse riding accident, I think it was, yes. And he got back into swimming as a form of therapy. And look where Roger is today. He's world renowned. He's got a swim school that they have in the UK every year with some really nice people that I've met. And, he's done so much for marathon swimming or long distance swimming or open water swimming. So, it's like Peter Bales and Tony Sailmeyer down in Cape Town from the Cape Long Distance Swimming Association. They've tied up the Robben Island swims. And I mean, those guys are, they're crazy. They swim in 12 degree and underwater just with the Speedo and goggles on, So, yeah, those guys, doff my hat to them as well.
I think just for completeness, we should mention Ram Barkai, who's been the pioneer in ice swimming. And then on Roger Finch, who I know quite well, I think he would be very disappointed on the suggestion it was maybe a vehicle accident. I'm pretty sure Roger was going 4 times whatever speed he was supposed to on his racing motorbike when he had his accident. I think he'd be proud of that statement. He wouldn't want to be just, in a Volkswagen Beetle in an accident. I think it was a dangerous move on a motorbike for Roger.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I mean, he's a great guy, and he's a fantastic ambassador for open water swimming, stroke marathon swimming. And yeah, he's a great guy. He's a really good personal friend of mine, and I'll tell him to listen out for this, Ned.
Neville, just the last question before we let you go. The International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame has a number of initiatives. One of the initiatives is to increase the participation and honor swimmers with disabilities, and also honor those who help swimmers with disabilities. And the Natalie story and the envelope of love and attention that you've guys wrapped her in, it's been part of the initiative story we tell. And our sport is really been successful with a lot of disabled swimmers completing a lot of big swims. One of our other initiatives is to increase the participation of Black swimmers and contributors. And I know that's been an initiative in the country of South Africa for quite a while. Tell us about some of the specific things that South Africa has done to increase Black participation in the sport.
Well, Black participation is part of our curriculum or directive from the Federation side. The Princess Charlene Foundation supports life-saving in South Africa quite extensively. And if one goes to the beaches in South Africa, you will see the majority of lifeguards are people of color, whether they are of mixed race or they are of Black African. We don't like to talk about quotas because that was something that was instigated in the late 90s. But through initiatives at the various clubs, we have large contingents of athletes of color that are participating. We had a Black African swimmer travel to Israel 2 years ago to participate in the Junior World Championships. He swam the 10-kilometer. He was there on ability. He wasn't there as anybody else. He has now taken up a scholarship in the United States. His name is Rafili Mashawa, and I think he's going to be one of our little hidden gems going forward. We have a number of Black athletes in our national open water squad. I think there's 27 out of a total of about 88. And they're all in there on ability. They all participated at our national open water championships, and our squads are selected from the performances at that competition. So going forward, we believe that we have good potential. In my previous term at Swimming South Africa, because I've only been back at Swimming South Africa since January 2016. I was with them previously from 2004 until 2008. Open water swimming had the highest percentage of transformation in all of the disciplines that we had at Swimming South Africa. And that is because we try and make open water swimming a family affair. So we involve the parents, we involve the coaches, we involve everybody so that you eliminate this highly competitive environment that one tends to find at pool competitions, and it's a lot more sociable. In the old days, I don't know what it's going to happen post-COVID, but in the old days, we used to encourage guys to bring their gazebos, bring their chairs, bring their barbecues, and we'd have a barbecue and a cool drink and cold lemonade or something like that afterwards, So, I think it's the ethos and the environment that we've tried to promote in South Africa that lends itself to being a more family-orientated discipline, whereby socializing and integrating and spending time with a lot of different people is more the norm than the exception.
Neville, I want to thank you very much. And again, I want to congratulate you. And on behalf of both Steve and I, welcome to the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege. And it's good to see you again, Steve.
Yes, my pleasure. Congratulations.